about to hear is by way of research done by many who have had to surmount the numerous obstacles put in their path, possibly put in place to inhibit our way of thinking and to stop us deciding for ourselves how we wish to live. Above all, keep your mind open.
For those of you who have never heard of the Philadelphia Experiment, there was actually a film made in the 80s about this. I've decided tonight's conspiracy theory is just for you. The Philadelphia Experiment is the name given to a naval military experiment which was supposedly carried out at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, sometime around October the 28th, 1943. It's alleged that the US Navy destroyer escort USS Eldridge was to be rendered invisible or cloaked to enemy devices. The experiment is also referred to as Project Rainbow. The story is widely regarded as a hoax. The US Navy maintains that no such experiment occurred, and details of the story contradict well-established facts around the Eldridge, as well as the known laws of physics. Nonetheless, the story has captured imaginations in conspiracy theory circles, and elements of the Philadelphia Experiment are featured in other government conspiracy theories. Testing began in summer 1943 and was successful to a limited degree. One test on July the 22nd resulted in the Eldridge being rendered almost completely invisible, with some witnesses reporting a greenish fog in its place. However, crew members complained of severe nausea afterwards. At that point, the experiment was altered at the request of the Navy, with the new objective being invisible to radar only. Equipment was not properly recalibrated to this end, but in spite of this, the experiment was performed again on October the 28th. This time, Eldridge not only became almost entirely invisible to the naked eye, but actually, according to some, vanished from the area in a flash of blue light. Simultaneously, the US Naval Base at Norfolk in Virginia, just over 600 kilometres away, reported sighting the Eldridge offshore for several minutes, whereupon the Eldridge vanished from their site and reappeared in Philadelphia, at the site it had originally occupied, in an apparent case of accidental teleportation. The physiological effects of the crew were profound. Almost all of the crew were violently ill. Some suffered from mental illness as a result of their experience. Behaviour consistent with schizophrenia is described in other accounts. Still, other members were physically unaccounted for or supposedly vanished, and 5 of the crew were allegedly fused to the metal bulkhead or deck of the ship. Still others were said to fade in and out of sight. Horrified by these results, naval officials immediately cancelled the experiment. All of the surviving crew involved were discharged. In some accounts, brainwashing techniques were employed in an attempt to make the remaining crew members lose their memories concerning the details of their experience. On January the 13th, 1955, a Dr. Jessup received a letter from a man identifying himself as Carlos Allende. In the letter, Allende informed Jessup of the Philadelphia Experiment, alluding to poorly sourced contemporary newspaper articles as proof. Allende also said that he had witnessed the Eldridge disappear and reappear while serving aboard the SS Andrew Furuseth, a nearby merchant ship. Allende further named other crew with which he had served aboard the Andrew Furuseth, and claimed to know of the fates of some of the crew members of the Eldridge after the experiment, including one whom he witnessed disappear during a chaotic fight in a bar. Jessup replied to Allende by postcard asking for further evidence and corroboration for the story. The reply came some months later. However, this time the correspondent identified himself as Carl M. Allen. Allen said that he could not provide the details for which Jessup was asking, but implied that he might be able to recall by means of hypnosis. Suspecting that Allende or Allen was a crank, Jessup decided to discontinue the correspondence. In 1984, the story was eventually adapted into a film, The Philadelphia Experiment, directed by Stuart Raphael. Though based only loosely on prior accounts of the experiment, it served to bring the core elements of the original story into mainstream scrutiny. In 1990, Alfred Bielek, a self-claimed former crew member of the Eldridge and alleged witness of the experiment, supported the version as it was portrayed in the movie, adding embellishments. In 2003, Bielek's version of his participation in the Philadelphia experiment was debunked by a small team of investigators, and the general consensus now is that he was nowhere near the ship at the proposed time of the experiment. But the ship was gone from the harbour for about 4 hours, not just a few minutes. Legend has it that the ship was transported through space and time. 4 hours later, it returned to its original place. There was a greenish haze on deck. Some of the sailors were on fire, some seemed insane, all were very poorly. Some had heart attacks, some were dead, some were part of the superstructure of the ship, buried in the deck or the walls of the ship. Some reports said that men just seemed to disappear and were never seen again. But where had the ship gone for 4 hours? Some witnesses placed it in Norfolk Harbour. Others say it voyaged 40 years into the future and wound up at Montauk in New York. Yet another scientist believes that sonic and ultrasonic waves were used. The sonic waves could have been used to create an air blanket around the ship, which is consistent with reports. There were many experiments done in the 1940s with high-power ultrasonic waves, which indicates a high probability of the Philadelphia experiment being one of them. Strong sonic fields are known for having bad side effects upon humans, which is also consistent with reports. The green haze, which was presumably around the ship, was caused by exciting the surrounding seawater with powerful ultrasonics, sonoluminescence, and related phenomena. The ultrasonic field would have caused the crew to pass out and make the journey from Philadelphia to Norfolk seem to last only a couple of minutes. But how would that explain the mental illness of some or the missing men? How would it also explain that, according to records, all of the surviving crew involved were discharged, and in some accounts, brainwashing techniques were employed in an attempt to make the remaining crew members lose their memories concerning the details of their experience? Unsurprisingly, the Navy denied everything and said the men were lost at sea. Perhaps one day the truth will be known, but I doubt that in my lifetime.
Keep your mind open.